In the spring of 2017, the Arecibo Observatory received a strange radio signal from the vicinity of the star Ross 128. It disappeared immediately. That same year, a rocky Earth-like exoplanet was discovered in that region, a suspicious coincidence. But the signal vanished as if someone had deliberately turned it off, only to turn it back on 150 years later. Flight to a New Earth. The year is 2167. The signal is coming from the same place, from somewhere around the red dwarf Ross 128. All the world's telescopes are focused on this patch of sky. Almost immediately, a second rocky exoplanet is discovered near the star. It is confirmed that the signal is coming from there. Data from the analysis begins to arrive. The planet is slightly larger than Mars. Gravity is half that of our planet. The atmosphere is almost Earth-like, 25% oxygen. This was an unsettling realization. Humanity clearly understood they were not alone in the universe. The planet was named accordingly, Elpida, which means hope in Greek. An unknown new world lies 11 light-years from Earth. But humanity of the 22nd century has already invented and tested a thermonuclear rocket engine. A grand construction project began at the Lagrange point L1 of the Earth-Moon system, funded by all the countries of the world. After 30 years, 3 gigantic cylindrical spacecraft began to shine in the space shipyards. Each one is 3,300 meters, 10,800 feet in length. It's like 4 Burj Khalifas stacked on top of each other. The diameter of each is 700 meters, around 2,300 feet. They were named Pinta, Nina, and Santa Maria after the legendary caravels of Christopher Columbus, which discovered the New World. The ships are fully autonomous and independent of each other. There are entire cities with residential modules, laboratories, sports facilities, and even parks inside. There are also mysterious rooms marked "No Entry" with strange labels. The thermonuclear engines can accelerate the ships to 7.33% of the speed of light. This will allow them to reach their destination in 150 years. Each ship has 2,000 people on board, selected from the best in their fields. Experienced pilots and astronauts, astronomers, nuclear physicists, technicians, doctors, psychologists, teachers, and even musicians and comedians. With their families, they recreate a society as close as possible to life on Earth. September 1st, 2197, is the day when the greatest expedition starts. The bright bluish lights of the nuclear propulsion engines of the Pinta, Nina, and Santa Maria are piercing the darkness of space. The acceleration of the ships is increasing, reaching just under 10 meters per second squared. Objects and people are pressed against surfaces with a force equal to Earth's gravity. This is how artificial gravity is created. To reach the target speed of 7.33% of the speed of light, the ships need to accelerate for 26 days. On the 35th hour of the flight, the ships cross the orbit of Mars. Distance covered, 79 million kilometers, 49 million miles. Doctors and psychotherapists continuously monitor the health of each person. At the beginning of the 3rd day of the flight, the ships enter the asteroid belt. Distance from Earth, 149 million kilometers, about 92 million miles. The optimal trajectory was calculated in advance to eliminate even the slightest chance of collision. But at such speeds, even a collision with a grain of sand could have severe consequences. Therefore, each ship is equipped with multiple levels of protection. Magnetic shields at the front deflect charged particles and small debris. while lasers instantly vaporize asteroid fragments. In addition, scout drones patrol the area around each ship, detecting threats in advance. On the 5th day, the ships cross Jupiter's orbit at a speed of about 3,500 kilometers a second, just over 1% of the speed of light. Humanity had never dreamed of such speeds before. Gradually, everything starts to fall into place. People begin their education and research activities. On the 11th day, the ships cross Neptune's orbit, the most distant planet in the solar system. Post-launch system checks are completed. Special training sessions for different age groups begin. Social services are working to maintain the mental health of the people on board. The first cultural events take place, a pop concert and a contemporary art exhibition. Life is settling into routine. On this day, the target speed, 7.33% of the speed of light, will be reached and many things will change. Everyone is getting ready for this moment. Everything is being thoroughly checked. Anything that can be secured is secured. Anything that can be stowed away is stowed. All communication channels have announced a full operational readiness. Everyone takes their designated position and strapping themselves tightly against the wall. The main engines are shut down. The ships continue to move by inertia, and the people experience weightlessness. The rotational engines are activated, gradually spinning the ships around their central axis. The rotation creates artificial gravity through centrifugal force. When the rotation reaches 1.6 revolutions per minute, a familiar 1g gravity is achieved. But now, what was once the walls becomes the floor and ceiling for the rest of the journey. New, unfamiliar Coriolis effects have emerged. Liquids flow in strange trajectories, and falling objects move differently. The rotational engines are turned off, as they are no longer needed. The ships continue to spin on their own, in accordance with the law of conservation of angular momentum. Gradually, everyday life and the social structure begin to settle. Thanks to their modular design, the residential capsules are quickly reconfigured to adapt to the new direction of gravity. Technical and communal spaces are restructured semi-automatically. Schools, hospitals, and production facilities resume operation. Life thrives on every level of the spacecraft. Each level is a cylinder nested within the previous one. The further you go inward toward the central axis of the ship, the weaker the artificial gravity on each level. There is no gravity at the very center. This is where the shuttles needed after arrival are stored. Intermediate levels are used to study the effects of low gravity on microorganisms, plants and animals, and even humans. People experiment on liquids, gases, and plasma. Large spaces on the ships are designated as rehabilitation centers, where patients receive therapy and recover after injuries or surgeries, with partial gravity used to minimize strain on the body. 1 year after launch. 693 billion kilometers, about 430 billion miles, or approximately 0.07 light-years from Earth. Multi-level plantations have been established, successfully using aeroponics, a plant-growing technology that utilizes a soilless air environment. Each ship has a seed bank of cultivated plants and a separate DNA bank of plants that can be used if the seed reserve is lost. Additionally, a DNA bank of certain animal species is stored. No one knows what flora and fauna will be on Elpida, so there is a need to ensure the future colony's development. Microbiologists monitor the epidemiological situation. Bacteria can evolve quite rapidly in a closed environment. Even the most harmless can mutate into deadly threats. Microbiologists proactively find ways to combat new strains. This is especially important in light of the upcoming event. The expedition is preparing for the birth of the first interstellar child. After the first pregnancy was registered, the Genesis protocol was activated. The crew was commanded to gradually reduce the ship's rotation speed to lower the artificial gravity. By the time the child is born, it will match the gravity of Elpida. The lighting spectrum inside the ships is gradually changing. Daylight will no longer be the same as on Earth. New generations will live in conditions similar to those on Elpida to adapt to them. Toward the end of the first year of the flight, joyful news spread throughout the ships. A healthy child was born. The population of new humanity is now 6,001. The first generation born on the ship reaches school age. The first interstellar generation begins its comprehensive education. The children who embarked on the journey have grown into adults. The young assistants of the crew members have become mature, experienced specialists. The mature ones have become elderly. The first significant crew change occurs. The artificial intelligence Astra has become indispensable. It diagnoses diseases, manages the aeroponic plantations, resolves social issues, and monitors the ship's condition. The anthropomorphic robots controlled by Astra have befriended people, and many believe that they have consciousness of their own. Children are particularly convinced of this. During this period, the first death occurs. The oldest member of the expedition, a distinguished nuclear physicist, passes away at 94 years old. According to his will, his body is sent to drift in open space. A new tradition emerges in this moment. Along with the body, a capsule containing photographs and mementos belonging to the deceased is sent to drift in open space. 50 years after launch. 3.6 light-years from Earth. 7.4 light-years to Elpida. 2 generations have already been born on the ships, but they are not destined to live until arrival. They will spend their entire lives on the ships, never having seen either Earth or Elpida. Although there are still many people on board who were born on Earth, the core of the crew now consists of the spaceborne generation. Birth rates are strictly controlled to ensure genetic diversity and maintain population levels so that the life support systems can cope and there is no shortage of people. Regulations have been put in place, a minimum of 2 and a maximum of 3 children per family. Couples undergo genetic counseling before planning a pregnancy to determine genome compatibility and avoid potential risks. Children must be born evenly over time, in different periods, to avoid large groups of children of the same age. This ensures an even distribution of age groups and prevents the overuse of resources. Children are born naturally, but the ship has a supply of frozen sperm and eggs, as well as artificial womb technologies that can be used as a last resort. A pivotal date, 5.5 light-years from Earth, and the same distance to Elpida. The expedition has completed exactly half of its journey. At this milestone, it becomes clear that the birth control protocol has been justified. The population of each ship has grown within reasonable limits by 500 people. Now, each ship has approximately 1,400 adults, around 500 children, and about 600 elderly people. Every 10 years, about half of the children become adults, and a third of the adults become elderly. Approximately 33% of people aged 50 to 80 die every 10 years. Thus, generational change occurs naturally, without any anomalies. The average life expectancy of space travelers at this point is 77.5 years. Some passengers and crew members who launched from Earth are still alive. 100 years after launch. 7.3 light-years from Earth, 3.7 light-years to Elpida. The era of stability. Unique traditions have formed on board each ship. Interstellar historians become a thing, documenting the history of the society on board. 10.9 light-years from Earth. The era of new humanity. Over 149 years, the 5th and 6th generations of people born in space have come into this world. Preparations for arrival have begun. As they draw closer to their new home, new humanity has begun to forget its cradle, Earth. only the crew and the scientific community regularly receive faint signals from Earth. For objects moving at different speeds, time passes differently. The higher the speed, the more noticeable the difference, especially over many years. Therefore, the time on the ships differs from that on Earth. During the 100 years of the journey, 3 months less time has passed for the expedition participants compared to people on Earth. During this time, legends have emerged on board the spacecraft, particularly around those restricted areas where entry is forbidden. These sections are occasionally visited by people in uniforms that conceal their faces. Some say that there is a weapon storage in case of an alien attack. Others believe there are wealthy people and politicians in cryosleep, waiting to be awakened upon arrival. Over this period, low gravity has altered people's physiology due to the much lower stress on their spines, bones, and muscles. The average height is now 220 centimeters, 7 feet and above. Posture is more upright, muscle mass is reduced. People's figures have become slimmer, and their gait is lighter and more fluid. Genetic modifications have allowed the population to adapt maximally to life on the new planet. Enlarged eye slits, large pupils, and slightly larger eyeballs provide better vision in dim light. An unexpected side effect is that irises have become emerald green or golden yellow. New humanity is now preparing for arrival. A small reddish dot is visible through the portholes to the naked eye. It's getting closer and closer. Less than 1 Earth month remains until arrival. Now, the ships face 25 days of continuous deceleration. Once again, just as 150 years ago, the entire population of the ships is busy checking their assigned areas. Everything must be stowed away or secured. Then, everyone straps themselves against the wall. The rotational engines are activated in reverse thrust. The rotation gradually stops. Weightlessness returns. The maneuvering thrusters are fired. They turn the ships so that their sterns face the direction of travel. The main engines are activated. They now work as brakes, once again creating artificial gravity. But this time, it's on horizontal decks, not around a circumference. Once more, the walls and floors have swapped places. Meanwhile, the reddish dot grows larger, transforming into a sun. The day of arrival has finally come. A blue dot becomes visible through the observation windows. The displays show enlarged images of it. One can already distinguish land, a large ocean, clouds. On the surface, a strange mixture of black and purple is visible. What could it be? An hour before arrival, the source of the signal that summoned humanity on this journey is discovered. It's an orbital beacon left by some unknown entity. The ships enter geosynchronous orbit and initiate rotation, causing the floors and walls to switch places again. Probes are launched from the ships, landing in different regions of the planet for initial exploration. The first images and videos start coming in. An anomalous concentration of neon in the atmosphere transforms the rays of the sun. The sky and clouds shimmer with shades of orange and crimson. Due to tidal locking, the planet always faces its star with the same side. As a result, one pole is constantly warm, while the other is cold. But the greenhouse effect mitigates the temperature difference. Precise data on the atmosphere's composition is coming in. Good news, this air is breathable. A detailed map of the terrain is created. The landing site for the shuttles has been determined, a vast plain. A shuttle descends and lands from each ship. Rovers with crews disembark. For the first time, humans set foot on the surface of a planet in another star system. A carbon monolith is unloaded from one of the shuttles, engraved with the names of the expedition members who did not live to see this day. A moment of silence. The shuttles disperse to explore the planet. Here, vast areas are covered with dense and lush forests, featuring giant trees over 100 meters, over 330 feet tall. The leaves take on the most exotic shapes, ranging from broad and large to spiral-shaped. Nearly all of them are dark purple. In the perpetual twilight, the local flora creates its own artificial lighting through bioluminescence. Bluish mushroom-like growths glow on the trees, greenish slime on the leaves emits light, and even the veins of the leaves give off a soft blue glow. Many peculiar plants with small, smooth, almost mirror-like surfaces reflect light, creating a mosaic of black obsidian. It becomes clear after further studies, this planet harbors only plant life and microorganisms. And we can live here. But questions remain. Who left that beacon? And who was that signal intended for?